Hi everyone, it's Evie Angeline here at etrailer, and today we're looking at the Kuat Transfer V2 2-bike rack here on our Kia Optima. So the Kuat Transfer has a bunch of cool things going for it. One is that it has a unique goalpost design which allows you to step into the bike rack to get your bikes. Also, for the Kia Optima, usually your only option for a hitch is a Class 1 hitch. So your selection of bike racks are limited, and this is one of the only bike racks that can tilt away with the bikes on for if you want to access your trunk. So let's take a look at the other features of our bike rack. So first, we're going to take a look at that tilt away feature. What I like to do is just put this front clamp all the way to the side. That way I can step into my bike rack, step on that lever, step down, and then you can see from here how we actually have a lot more space between our trunk and our bikes, allowing us to open the trunk as well as get our larger items up and out of it, like your helmets, your bags, your water, which is nice because then you can get onto the trail faster without having to go through the process of taking your bikes or your bike rack up. To bring it back into position, you just lift it up into position and it snaps into place with that lever there in the center. Okay, let's take a look at the way our bike is mounted. So we have two mounting points. One is our front wheel clamp, and I really like the front wheel clamp option because let's say if I have a carbon frame bike here and the traditional bike rack usually has a hook that comes down and secures it by the frame. With that style, I'd be worried about warping or cracking my bike. But also, if you have alternate frame bikes like your women's bikes, your children's bikes, or your step-through bikes, usually you'd have to get a frame adapter bar. But with this style, you don't need to. Another way it is held down is over here in the back, which is our rear wheel strap. And this is actually where you start when you want to take off your bike. So to do so, you just press this lever and you pull up on that strap and just leave it to the side so it doesn't get caught up in your spokes when you take your bike off. Then you come over here to the front and then hold on to your bike as you do so. You press this button, lift up on that clamp, push that out, and from here it's just a slight lift and you are ready to go on a bike ride. And with that bike out of the way, we get to take a closer look here at our cradles and our straps. So we have this rear wheel cradle, and this has a bunch of different grooves for your different tire widths. So whether you have your really thin road bike tires or your wider tires up to 3 inches, this is perfectly fine for that. Now if you have a fatter bike tire, you can get the strap adapter, which is just a longer strap, and that's going to help with tire widths up to 5 inches. So what happens is you put your bike down here, you can adjust the rear cradle for different wheelbases and you just tighten that down. Then over here to the front, you have a large front wheel cradle, again with those different grooves for those different tire widths, as well as this front wheel clamp. So I talked about why this is my favorite design for a bike rack, because it has that front wheel clamp compatibility, but it also has a slight hard rubber feel. So rather than plastic, this is going to help you get a better grip on your tire as you secure it. What I like to do is I like to put this over to the outside of my bike rack. That way I can take full advantage of the goalpost design where it's open on the inside. So the Kuat Transfer has a weight capacity of 40 pounds per bike. If you happen to have a 2-inch hitch, you can get the same type of bike rack with a 2-inch shank, and that has a heavier weight capacity. But if you have the Class 1 hitch, that weight capacity is going to stay at 40 pounds. Let's talk about ground clearance real quick. So for ground clearance, measuring underneath the goalpost to the ground, that's going to be 15¼ inches of ground clearance. Then over here to the shank, we have 9 inches of ground clearance. So you can see it has a slight shank rise, which is going to be helpful, especially on your Optima. Because your car sits a little bit closer to the ground compared to SUVs and trucks, you want as much ground clearance as you can get. Because as you go up steep inclines like driveways or hills, as your front goes up, your back's gonna come down, and so are your bikes. So keep in mind that measurement for ground clearance when you go up those inclines. Let's also take some measurements for the length added to the back of your Optima. So measuring from underneath the bike rack to the end of the bumper, all the way to the end of the bike rack, it sits at about 35.75 inches of length added to your vehicle. That's kind of on the longer side when it comes to a 2-bike platform rack, but because of that length, you get that goalpost design as well as a little bit of extra space between your bikes. So just keep that measurement in mind whenever you're backing into your garage or you're trying to park into a really tight spot. Now, if you want to cut down on that length, what you can do is press this lever and just fold it up to be a bit more portable. So we'll take some measurements real quick. So measuring from our bumper to the end of the goalpost, it sits at 12 inches. Now, from the bumper to the end of the foot lever, it sits at 14 inches. Big difference compared to when it was folded down. You definitely want in this position when you're not planning on taking your bikes out just yet, but you also don't want to go through the process of taking your whole bike rack off. You just fold it up so it's nice and portable. The closest point is going to be from your bumper to that front wheel cradle, and that's going to be 5.25 inches of distance between the two, so no worries at all about it accidentally making contact with your car. Now, notice how you can also open the trunk with your bike rack folded up. You won't have as much space to carry things out, but if you need to grab something real quick, that's perfectly fine. With it folded up like this, you can see how your rear window is completely open. Now your taillights are visible as well, although this front wheel cradle does slightly cover your passenger side taillight, depending on what angle you're looking at. As for this license plate, it fits right between the opening of your goalpost design. Your backup camera sits right over there, so you will see that front wheel cradle arm in your backup camera, but your view will be mainly open, which is great because then you get to stay safe as well as visible on the road. Now let's talk about how it fits into your hitch. So this has an 1.25 shank, but it also comes with a 2-inch hitch adapter if you're using this on another vehicle. It comes with a hitch pin and a clip, but what I did is I added the lock. Here you can find it, it's from Kuat, but you can find it at etrailer.com, and it's an extra lock if you want to add that for extra security. Now what this actually uses is a security wrench. So it's a hex key wrench that goes and tightens down. It also extends a ball cam inside your bike rack, creating an anti-rattle effect. So with that fully tightened down, we're going to do a shake test. So as I shake our bike rack around, you can see how I'm really just shaking the car, showing that that connection right there is tight, secure, making for a smoother ride for your bikes overall. So my final thoughts about this bike rack is I really am a big fan of the Kuat Transfer, especially because I get to have a platform rack that tilts away and has integrated or a cable lock that works with this bike rack, even though I have a Class 1 hitch on my Kia Optima. So if you have maybe your nicer bikes and you don't want to get a hanging rack, I think this would be a really good option for you. So that was a look at the Kuat Transfer V2 2-bike rack here on our 2018 Kia Optima.